All right, I should be live here, I think, probably. Not 100% sure. It's been a while since I've done this, so just give me a second while I wait for it in the other window to see if it pops up. There we go. All right, there it is. Looks like I'm good. So let me just see here. I might need to turn down my fan. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and shut that off. One second. All right. So now I should be good to go. Like I said, it's been a while since I've done this. Kind of crazy. I have to be running a fan in, early January, but it was like 80 degrees today here, so a little crazy, but not the craziest thing that's happened recently. Not the craziest thing. We have had a great start to the new year, at least I would say. Some people are having not such a great start to their new year, like Maduro, who's now under arrest in the United States, which I was overjoyed when I saw that. I was elated and happy for several reasons. Maduro obviously was an evil piece of shit, and anytime you see someone like that go down and get their comeuppance, and especially to be arrested, like it wasn't even like we just ran in there and shot him up or something. The guy's gonna have to be humiliated, go on trial, probably spend the rest of his life in prison. It's great. It's fantastic to just see some guy like that getting marched around like a common prisoner when, a few, at this point, I guess it was a couple days ago, he was the president or the dictator, the, illegitimate leader of the country, ruling it like a thug, being a general piece of shit, imprisoning people for political dissent, killing them, torturing them, all that kind of stuff. Providing aid to every other reprehensible piece of shit on the face of the earth. Like this guy was allies with, you just name them. Name the enemies of America, and this guy was buddies with them and helping him out in one way or another. We're talking, Russia, China, Iran, Hezbollah. He had members of Hezbollah in Venezuela. He was giving them passports and letting them work there. So they're, in this hemisphere, and if they need to, they can get into the United States from there, use it as jumping off point. Or he's just providing them like asylum, essentially. They're on the run, or they're cross training or something. Some of these people, it's like, oh, well, you've got to get out of wherever they had their Hezbollah agents at, I don't know, Lebanon or something. They're like, okay, well, you come over and spend some time in Venezuela. Now your new job, instead of being a terrorist, is going to be shipping drugs into the United States, or I don't know, torturing a teenager who had mean things to say about me on the internet. So that's like that's what the kind of guy Maduro was. Hey, he's still around, I guess. So obviously, I can't see a possible downside for this, except that I don't know. A lot of people, I don't know what to make of what's going to come next. Like, I don't think anyone does. Obviously, Trump came out and said, we're going to run Venezuela. I don't think that means what people are taking it to mean. At least people like on the left wing interpreted that as like, we're just going to like directly control the country somehow. Like Marco Rubio is going to be dictator of the country, or we're going to like, I don't know. We're going to do an invasion like in Iraq and just completely control the whole nation, or take it over like a colony or something. A whole bunch of unhinged crap has come out just from that one little statement. But I think what Trump meant, and what's more realistic, is that he's just talking about effectively pressuring the regime, whoever is in charge there, to just capitulate to all of our demands, which I imagine, because they brought it up so much, was giving us back access, giving our oil companies back access to the oil reserves there, so they can do business there, so they can repair the infrastructure, which is deteriorated, and we can actually start utilizing those oil reserves there. Because right now they're doing nobody any good. And I think that's one thing they might want them to democratize, obviously hold like an actual election that isn't rigged and isn't a sham. They probably want them to stop running drugs. A lot of people have said that's not the main issue. I don't think it's the main issue either. I think the main issue is the security issues and the oil thing. They kept bringing that up, and people act like that's us stealing their oil or something, and that's ridiculous. Like when Trump says they stole it from us, what he's talking about, like they basically did. They basically did, because what happens in these countries? This was the same thing that happened in Iran to the British. It is part of the reason we didn't so much. It was more so the British and the Iranians actually that did the coup there to get rid of Mossadegh. We helped out and stuff. We were kind of hesitant to even do that because we sort of liked Mossadegh at first because he was democratically elected. But effectively, what happened there and what happened in Venezuela. In Iran, it was BP, it was British Petroleum. In Venezuela, it was some American oil companies. They make deals, they sign contracts, make these deals to go in there because they have these huge oil reserves, but they've got no access to the actual oil. They don't have the technology, the experience, the infrastructure to drill it out of the ground, to refine it, to ship it, to do any of that. They need, advanced, technologically advanced economies and societies to come in there and do that part for them. So our companies make deals with these people to extract this resource, which they wouldn't be able to have access to anyway, right? They were doing nothing with it. And so we set up all this infrastructure, we drill it out, we set up the companies there to actually get the oil out of the ground and to move it and to refine it. And then after that's all put into place, these regimes, in the case of Iran, it was Mossadegh, who was democratically elected. In the case of Venezuela, it was a communist regime who took over. And they decided to nationalize the oil industry, which essentially means they're just taking over all of the oil infrastructure, all of that stuff we built and put into place. They're just going to take it. They're going to screw us over on the deal we made. And the deal is basically that those companies go in there and get it, and they still get a percentage of the profits. It varies, it's 10, 20, 30%, whatever it is. It's not insignificant. It's a lot of money that they're getting basically for free. They weren't doing anything with the oil before, and we came in and set up all the shit and spent a bunch of money and invested a lot just to go in there to get the stuff out of the ground. And then they just steal all that infrastructure. They kick out all of the experts, all the employees effectively have to leave or are pulled out because the companies are kicked out. And so they put in a bunch of idiots, a bunch of incompetents to go in there, a bunch of regime sycophants to take over that industry, and they ran it into the dirt. That's why they're not producing oil in Venezuela. The infrastructure over time dilapidates and has to be maintained. It goes to shit. And when all the experts leave, all the people that know how leave, they can't fix it, they can't sustain it, they can't rebuild it. And that's why they're bankrupt and the country is a shithole, among other things. I mean, that's not the only reason. That's far from the only reason. The main overarching reason is the communism. But that's just to explain to you how they did actually steal from us in that case. They stole from American oil companies and just screwed them over. And then there's the drug thing too. So that is, again, I don't think the biggest issue in the world, but it's not as small of an issue as people are making it out to be. They were responsible for shipping annually, every single year into the United States, 200 to 250 metric tons of cocaine, which, that's kind of a lot. That's what is that? It's 500,000 pounds or something. Somewhere in there. That's crazy. And then there's all the security issues I mentioned earlier. Those alone, the security issues alone, are enough to justify this. And then I can talk about the legal justifications, which I don't know why people are like even attempting to say this was illegal, that we couldn't do this. It's so obviously, it's something we can do. We've done things like this in the past many times without any issue at all. The international law thing, first, international law is kind of fake and gay. It's not like a real thing, as many people have pointed out. But even if we were going to look at it from an international law perspective, people keep citing the UN Charter. What is it? I think it's like Article 2, Section 4 or something, where they're talking about, oh, well, you can't do this. This is illegal. It says right here, you can't aggress upon another nation or whatever. But there is, you can claim the principle of self-defense, which we could do. And as far as I understand, that's what they're doing in this case. Because even though we don't really care about the international law, it's still always, if we can justify it under that, it makes us look a little better. That's really the only purpose of international law, is to use it to, smear your enemies, essentially, to try and turn other countries and stupid people that do care about that stuff against your enemies, or in this case, against us. So everybody, that's all it's used for, really, is to just say, oh, look, what they're doing is illegal. It says so right here, even though there's no enforcement mechanism of any kind. But yeah, we could claim self-defense in this case. I think. I mean, what they're doing apparently is they're saying all those drugs, the 200 to 250 metric tons of drugs he's shipping into the country, is basically poison. They're basically shipping poison into the country and distributing it to harm American citizens, which, fair enough. That's accurate. I don't know. You could say, well, it's just drug dealing. It's well, yeah, but that is kind of what drug dealing is. So I don't know. That seems like you could make that argument. I think you could also make the argument that they're working with our enemies, particularly the terrorists. And yeah, I think the other issue with this is it wasn't a full-on invasion. All we did was go in and arrest the guy, which we've had, court decisions have ruled on this. It's a precedent. We've done it several times where we can go in and we can arrest foreigners, people in foreign countries, on the basis of American domestic law. We can do that. That's not an international thing. That's something that's been decided within the United States. We've determined that. It's a precedent that's been set. We've tried and convicted people from other countries that we snatched up out of there. They basically did this in Panama. And the thing in Panama was even more crazy, because we sent in, I don't know, how many troops did we send into Panama? Was it 40,000 troops or something? We sent an army into Panama. We actually invaded Panama and then grabbed that guy up and brought him back. Who was it? Noriega? Yeah. And we went in and did pretty much the same thing. And there was no congressional approval for that either, for all the people bitching about congressional approval. The president doesn't need congressional approval to do a limited use of force. There's certain stipulations. They have to notify Congress within 48 hours of having taken the action, which they did in this case. And they have to remove the forces within 60 days. And then there's 30 days. You've got an extra 30 days if you have to do a withdrawal. So it's 60 days plus 30 to withdraw. So 90 days, which obviously we're out of there way before that even. So yeah, this was not illegal in any way according to our Constitution. International law, who gives a fuck about it? But even then, you could justify it as a defensive act. And it was really more or less just an arrest. They had an arrest warrant for the guy, an indictment. He was indicted in a New York court. And so, was it a federal court in New York? And then they arrest him. They're going to give him a trial. And I don't see how this is a negative in any way for us. I don't see how it's a negative in any way for the Venezuelans. I don't know that they have so much to celebrate about, because I don't see this so much as a regime change, really. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But it seems like what I said, the regime itself is going to stay in power, and they're just going to try to liberalize it and to have them meet our demands. And I think probably the least important thing on our list of demands is that they institute like an effective democracy in Venezuela. I don't know that if they give us everything else, if they kick all of our enemies out of the country, if they stop shipping drugs, if they, I don't know, what was the other one? Oh yeah, give us access to the oil, let the oil companies back in. If they did all of that, I don't know that they would care so much if the regime just stayed in power and kept acting like dictators or whatever. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Maybe they will. Maybe they do care a lot about that. You also had Trump going off and talking about Iran. Iran's falling apart too. Apparently, I've been seeing a few videos. I haven't paid as much attention to that, obviously, but they're having riots over there, and they're like attacking the IRGC and just going nuts. And Trump said if Iran shoots any of the protesters, that we were going to go in there and come to their rescue. Which I don't know if I believe that, but after this, who knows? Who knows? Anything could be on the table. All right, let's see here. What do we got? I'm back. Yep, it's been a while. It has been a while. I don't know why I stopped. I stopped a while back because my headphones broke. And then, I don't know, I guess I just got busy. Wasn't much to talk about. I mean, there was stuff to talk about, I guess. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's been some other things that have happened, a few other things, but maybe the last time I streamed, was it last summer? When all fall, didn't do anything? Sounds about right. My audio is messed up. Well, I'll have to take a listen to it after this. I thought I fixed it. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do about that. I'll listen to it after and see if I can. Hopefully, it's not too bad. If it's bad enough, I might end up having to delete the stream. But anyway, I don't know. I turned my fan off and tried to get rid of the background noise. Maybe I have the mic too close. Maybe I'm yelling into the mic. I'm too excited. Neocon's in full control. Trust the plan. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people say that. It's going okay. I think we're off to a good start so far. Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. People who harbor illegally whining about the laws, Rich. Yeah. Yeah, and these same people never complained about any of this shit when any other president does it. When the Democratic presidents, they do the same stuff. I mean, hell, we assassinated Osama bin Laden. We sent a strike force into Pakistan and killed Osama bin Laden under Obama. I mean, no one was going to have the balls to complain about that. Plus, it was a Democrat that did it. So was that an invasion, an illegal invasion of Pakistan? I don't even remember. I bet the Pakistanis bitched about it. I don't really remember that much. I bet they were complaining like, oh, this was, you violated our sovereignty or something. But I don't think anyone had the ball. They knew we didn't give a shit. Like, we were going to get that guy no matter what. Peter Zihan predicts that Venezuela economy will become worse. Yeah, I don't know how much worse it could get, really. Yeah, nominally allied. Oh, they are. Oh, well, yeah, but I was talking. So, yeah, they had approval to go after 9/11 perpetrators anywhere in the world. But I was talking more so about the international law thing, like them bitching about us invading and how it's illegal to invade another country. Yeah, we had congressional approval for Afghanistan, the war in Iraq, all that stuff. So I don't know. I don't think it matters though for something like this or like that or like killing Soleimani or lots of stuff. I don't think you need congressional approval for short-term military action. The Senate ratifies as a foreign treaty, it becomes U.S. law. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't think international. Yeah, it matters if we sign a treaty with another country and it becomes a U.S. law. But as far as things like, I don't know, the International Court, which we're not even the International Criminal Court, we're not even a party to that, and they'll put out like warrants on people and nothing ever happens to them because there's no one to do anything. Like no one's going to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. Or if we get condemned, or they try and say that like, oh, the UN Charter says X, Y, and Z. It doesn't matter. We can basically just ignore it, and nothing will ever happen to us. It's just what big powers say is acceptable. There's a reason Russia and China constantly whine about it a lot since they wrote it. Yeah, everybody will, they'll claim someone else is violating it whenever they get the chance, but that's really all it's good for. Like I said, smearing your rivals. Anyway, I might look at some, got a little extra time. I might try and watch some of the reactions to this. We got TikTok pulled up here, which I like TikTok because you get a lot of like crazy people in rapid succession and it's pretty distilled down. And I get all the videos I want. It's more like what YouTube used to be. So like if I were trying to find these reactions on YouTube, I wouldn't have regular people, which I think is maybe part of what the appeal of TikTok is. You get videos. It kind of sucks that they're all ridiculously short. And it sucks that I can't make them into full screen. And it also sucks that, TikTok is a communist Chinese spy app that should be illegal. But, outside of all of that, it's one of the easiest places to find these crazy people. I did find a guy, actually, I found one account on X that reposts the crazy, like it's just, and this is like an anti-Trump account that all it does is post like these crazy leftists screeching about like whatever. But the problem with that is I couldn't find the ones that were just about Venezuela on there. They were all mixed up with stuff where they're complaining about Epstein and things like that. So let me see here. Venezuela's history with the ICC is wild. Maduro was under investigation and they fled to leave in December. Or they filed to leave in December. Funny. Good timing. All right, let me see here. See if I remember how to do this. All right, did that work? Yeah, see what I'm talking about? This kind of sucks because I can't, maybe there's a way to do it and I'm just too much of a boomer to know how to use TikTok. I almost never use TikTok. This is like the second time I think I've ever put it on here. Because if I try this is just a floating player that just pops it off to the side. Yeah, I don't see any way to get rid of this big like thing on this with the comments. So that kind of sucks. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and play this guy. Did it click share audio? Does it even ask me if I want to share audio anymore? I don't think it asked me that. Let me try that again. Oh, okay, it's automatic. All right, cool.
Did something it hasn't done. Yesterday morning, the United States did something it hasn't done since the invasion of Iraq. It bombed a sovereign nation, seized its president, and openly declared it would take control of that country's resources, not for democracy, not for human rights, for oil. I have worked inside the institutions of global finance for decades. I was executive director at the IMF representing Brazil and 10 other nations. I helped build the BRICS New Development Bank from the ground up.
Helped build the BRICS New Development Bank. Oh, that's great. Fantastic. What's up with this dude's voice? Yeah, there goes the whole we stole it for, or we invaded them. First off, not invasion, just not. I don't consider that an invasion. You know, if you send in a few people and just grab some guy and run away, I guess. I mean, I don't know. When I think of an invasion, I think of like an army of people, like hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of soldiers going into a country. I don't really consider like however many people were involved in this. I don't know. How many do you think were even on the ground? Like, who knows? I was imagining it was like dozens, maybe 100 or so. There's probably hundreds or thousands, I guess, if you include all the guys on the ships and the planes and stuff involved in this. But I don't know. I don't consider that an invasion myself. And then the oil thing. We're not stealing their oil. They never had access to that oil before, you know, we built all the infrastructure, and then they stole that from us. We violated an agreement, several agreements, and just screwed us over. So, you know, it's more like we're taking it back. But also, we haven't really done anything on that. What we're going to do, we had every right to snatch up Maduro. We had he was indicted by the court. They had every right to go arrest him, bring him to justice, and then they're going to use that as leverage to try and negotiate with the regime, whoever's in charge there now, the vice president, whatever her name is, and they're going to try and get agreements back into place to access the oil. So it's not like they're just running in there with soldiers and shovels and buckets and like digging it up and dumping it onto boats and just running away with it. So,
and I can tell you with absolute certainty, what happened in Venezuela yesterday is not a sign of American strength. It is proof of American desperation. When an empire resorts to raw military force because its financial weapons have failed, that empire is in terminal decline. Let me explain what you just witnessed. At dawn on January 3rd, the United States military launched what President Trump called one of the most stunning displays of American military might since World War II. F-22s, F-35s, B-1 bombers, dozens of helicopters descended on Caracas. Anti-aircraft positions were destroyed. The main military known because the chaos is ongoing. But witnesses reported charred vehicles, destroyed buildings, patient collars, and flew them first to the USS Iwo, not 4D chess. This is a liquidation sale. Let me pause here because this moment deserves your full attention. Trump did not say, we will help the Venezuelan people choose their own government. He did not say, we will support a transition to democracy. He said, word for word, we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And then he added, we will tap into its vast oil reserves. We will have the greatest oil companies in the world go in and invest billions and billions of dollars and take out money from Venezuela's oil after invading the country. This is the language of a conquistador, not a president.
Language of a conquistador. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than what I've already said. We're not stealing it. We're going in there. They're establishing contracts. They're going to make deals with them. Yeah, he said we're going to run the country. I guess I've already explained that too. Already talked about that. They're going to essentially attempt to pressure them into it. And I also did say I don't know that they care so much about the democracy. I think that's like a tertiary issue for them. But even if we don't achieve that, I think it was still a good thing. It's better, and I've always said this, if you're going to have a dictator, if you have to have a dictator, it's better to have a pro-American dictator, so at least we're getting our interests out of it. If you can have a democracy, that's even better. That's even better, sure. You don't always get that. I think in this case, I'm not sure. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. I think it'll be a lot easier to establish an effective democracy in a place like Venezuela than in a place like, I don't know, Iraq or Afghanistan for sure. Afghanistan was probably the most difficult one ever. Iraq, I think we could have done better. There was different things we could have done better. And honestly, Iraq was not as bad as people say it was. Iraq turned out to actually be the one place where the regime we put into power is still in power, unlike in Afghanistan where the Taliban took back over. So, Iraq has problems, like it has a shitload of corruption, but it's way better on every single metric than it was before we invaded. Every metric you could imagine, Iraq is a better place now because of the invasion. I don't know why that's even like a controversial thing. I don't know why people talk about Iraq as though it is a fact that Iraq is worse off now. There's not one single way in which you could describe that country as being worse off than it was before we invaded. People there live longer. They make more money. The government is less corrupt. The people are safer. There's less terrorism. It's like every single metric you could go by. The country's a better place. So, yeah, it's less of a threat to us. It's basically no threat to us at all. So let's go on to the next guy. I think I've heard this guy before.
Mad. I find it so...
Yeah, I know who this guy is. He starts ranting about like Haiti and the Dominican Republic. It really has like nothing to do. Yeah. And this dude, I don't think has any audio.
So I feel like America is one of the only places where like people that live in it will talk like they don't live in it. Last night, the whole U.S. invading Venezuela thing happened, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, like they're invading Venezuela and taking over to take all their oil." Like, oh my gosh! I was like, "Damn, that's tough." But like, low key, I live in America. More oil? Like, bro, I just bought gas for $2.7 a gallon. That shit has never happened. And you mean to tell me that could get even lower? Like, I understand the bitches that they have be bad as fuck, but fuck Venezuela, bruh. Take that shit over. You don't have to understand. In like the whole country and wartime thing, there is no morality. There is no peace in the heat of war. It's us or it's them.
I mean, I don't know about that, but Jesus, man. Fucking base Gen Z or whatever this guy is. Damn. A little extreme. Us or it's them. Very like just steal, just take it. Fuck Venezuela. I don't know about all that, but oh my god, that was funny. Man who's motivated by his self-interests. Okay.
Are trying to ethnically cleanse Venezuela. You hear me? Whole communities are being erased while the world just scrolls past it. Families torn apart.
I think this is AI. Sounds like AI. Could be wrong. It's also they're I don't know, it's a little too, I don't know. It gives me AI vibes. Maybe it's not. It might not be. But saying we're ethnically cleansing Venezuela, it doesn't really, I haven't heard anybody saying that. Doesn't even make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. I'm pretty sure this is AI.
Now disappeared because someone are trying to ethnically cleanse Venezuela.
The government of Venezuela has characterized the United States' action as a military aggression carried out in civilian and military areas and as a flagrant violation of the Charter, posing a threat to international and regional peace and security. As we speak, President
Who cares what those commies say?
Maduro is being held in New York, accused by U.S. authorities, along with his wife, Celia Flores, of serious criminal offenses. What is less certain is the immediate future of Venezuela. I am deeply concerned about the possible intensification, the instability in the country.
I mean, it's not like it could get a whole hell of a lot worse, right? Not like, I mean, I guess it can always get worse. Could always get worse, but things in Venezuela are bad, like really fucking bad. The stories you hear coming out of there, I think there's millions of them. As much as, I think I heard a stat that was like 25% of the population fled the country. That seems high, but it wouldn't shock me. I saw something somewhere that their GDP per capita was like cut by, I don't know, like fourfold, like it was like by 75% or something. And the inflation, one of their, what's the name of their currency down there? I don't remember. Whatever their currency is, it was deflated by like an order that I couldn't even comprehend how large the number was. It was something unbelievable, like multiple trillion, like one unit of Venezuelan currency was worth like trillions of US dollars, or not worth trillions of US dollars. It was $1 US was equivalent to trillions of one unit of Venezuelan currency. And then I think that was a few years ago, and now it's like into the quintillions or whatever comes after, quadrillions or whatever. It was crazy, something insane, some just unfathomable, like, you know, more atoms than there even are in the entire universe type number.
The potential impact on the region and the precedent it may set for how relations between and among states. I remain deeply concerned that rules of international law have not been respected with regard to the 3 January military action. The Charter enshrines the prohibition of the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence.
Yeah, I've already heard this. Let's go on to the crazy.
He just said that America will run.
This is what we're looking for right here. This is like peak TikTok cancer crack.
Venezuela. He said now that he's removed the government of Venezuela, America is running the country, okay? That means Venezuela is now officially a United States colony by default.
It's a colony? Can I set up like a sugar plantation there? It's a U.S. colony by default. We're going to start setting up settlements there. I like the people saying this. I don't know how you could be like that divorced from reality. You've realized that like we don't have. I mean, maybe we still have like some CIA agents or special forces or something kind of hanging around in there, but we don't control the country. Like, not directly. They're pressuring them. They're trying to, you know, use coercive diplomacy effectively to get them to meet our demands. But we're not like in direct control of the country. We don't have troops down there like with guns at their head, you know, deposing the actual regime and replacing them and installing the people we want. So I don't know how these people are just batshit.
I want you to understand this, okay? We are doing imperialism right now. This is empire. This is empire. He is going to strip the resources of Venezuela. He has already stated that he has spoken to United States oil companies who are going to go in there and start making money. This is our empire now, okay? I need you to understand that. We are at war. You don't invade.
We are at war. Where it's not a war. That's the other thing people keep talking about. If for it to be a war, like you would imagine there would be like, I don't know, fighting going on. We just went in there, did a couple strikes, grabbed a guy. Not a single one of our soldiers was killed. And then we left. I think we killed 40 of them or something. Not exactly what you would think of as like a full-on war. And they're not doing shit to us. They can't do shit to us.
Oh no, it was a police action. It was a military. No, we're not leaving. He said we're not leaving. He said
we already left. They left within like hours, dude. The people that are there are like a few CIA agents. So we have CIA, probably CIA everywhere. Who gives a shit about that?
We are there now, indefinitely. I know it's hard to follow because he took so many goddamn pills that our drowsy dictator could barely keep his eyes open for this shit. But I need you to understand. Talk to your friends, talk to your grandparents who are in Vietnam, and your uncles who were in Iraq, and ask them how the fuck that worked out.
Yes, it's just like Vietnam and Iraq, except, we don't have tens of thousands of troops in the country fighting a bloody war. Like, I don't know. I don't know these people are delusional completely. Like, every time they were saying this stuff, remember when we bombed Iran? And they were saying this stuff then. Nothing ever came of it. Nothing ever happened. We'll see, I guess. I don't know. Maybe in a couple of weeks we're going to be stationing 100,000 troops in Venezuela, but I kind of doubt it.
Because that is your present now. We're never getting off this fucking cycle. It's just every 20 years we invade someplace, we watch all of our money go away, and then we wonder why we don't have fucking health care. He just said that America...
Yeah. If we didn't arrest Maduro, spend all that money arresting Maduro, we'd be able to buy health care for every single person in the country. I don't know if the math works out on that one.
No les interesa ni la libertad ni la democracia, les interesa nuestro petróleo, les interesa nuestros recursos naturales.
Interested in our oil. Solidarity with President Maduro. Oh my God. So these are Venezuelan communists expressing their solidarity for Maduro and telling us how terrible what we did was.
Was a U.S. intervention in Venezuela today? There's no other way to describe that. We captured their president. We invaded their capital. That is directly what happened. Everything else is fluff. But we're going to talk about what happens after that because no one else wants to have that conversation because you're going to hear the words new.
Literally everyone is talking about that. That's all anybody's talking about. I don't know what to tell you. Go turn on the mainstream news. Get off of TikTok. See what they're saying.
Chapter. I just want you to know that phrase never describes reality. It always is intended to end a conversation before it starts because a chapter implies narrative progress. It tells you where you are without ever telling you who's holding the pen. That's the point of it. And you can notice what's missing right in there, can't you? There's no description of how stability is going to get measured. At all. No definition of who decides when order has returned. No explanation of what happens if it doesn't. So that's not oversight. It's just an architecture landing. So the first thing that you're going to be trained to believe is that removing a person is the same thing as resolving a system. It's not the same. That.
Oh. Is this guy like? I feel like he's on speed or something. It's just like bullshit at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Okay. I don't even know how to respond to this. We're going to be trained to believe that removing a person is the same as restoring stability. I don't even think we haven't overthrown the regime. The regime's still in power there. There was no stability to begin with. The place was a wreck. And it's virtually the same. At this point, not much has changed. Literally, the only thing that's changed is we went in and snatched up Maduro. And now, what's probably going to happen is we're going to be able to use that as leverage to scare the shit out of whoever is in charge there now. I suppose it's the vice president. And tell them, like, look, here's all the things we told Maduro we wanted. Now you're going to give us those things. Or we're going to come get you too. And we'll keep doing that until someone there complies with what we want. And at some point, somebody will. They'll just make the determination this is easier. They'll fear us more than they fear, I don't know, someone that one of their underlings kind of rising up and taking issue with it. That's what I expect. I think part of the reason for doing this, there's many reasons, like I've said before, is that Maduro was a fucking idiot. Maduro was just like they tried to make all these deals with him to get him to turn himself in, all this stuff. They were going to set him up, I don't know, like in an apartment in Moscow where he gets to be roommates with like the Merchant of Death and whoever else is hiding out up there. And he turned the deal down. And he started spurting out saying, come get me. You guys are cowards. You won't do shit. He was calling us pussies and stuff. And then we did it. So he was a pretty unreasonable guy. It's hard to imagine that everyone beneath him, that I think that's a product of him being in power for so long, being a dictator. You start to get like this insane warped view of your own position in the world and how strong you are. And people are talking about the vice president coming out, and she's like, saying, oh, we still stand with Maduro and all this, even though Trump said that she's ready to comply with us. I don't really know. It's hard to tell because on the one hand, Trump's saying she already said she'll work with us and capitulate to everything we want. And then she goes out publicly saying, like, screw you, this was illegal, give us back Maduro, he's still the president, all of that, which could just be her, I don't know, posturing, signaling to her own people to try and maintain the loyalty of the regime, which I don't know how you do, how you balance those things between working with us and getting your underlings to go along with the plan as well. But yeah, back to the crazy psychopath here. Iraq recently entered high human development index last year. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Iraq's been, it's better in every way, every conceivable way than it was before the time we invaded.
It feels intuitive, though. I understand where you're coming from. It feels moral, it feels clean, but it's also historically false because drug economies don't run on loyalty to leaders. That's not what drug economies run on. They would have been called leader economies. I'm just trying to help you. They run on geography, demand, enforcement gaps, money velocity, and oil economies don't stabilize because new flags are raised. They stabilize when contracts, force, and legitimacy align. That's how you get an oil economy to stabilize. And
that's what they're talking about doing, dude. That's what they're talking about doing. They're talking about investing in the, like, part of the reason, like I said, it crashed was because they kicked all of us out and decided to go the communist path, seizing the means of production, literally what they did, and nationalized their oil industry, which inevitably meant it was going to collapse and go to shit. The whole reason we're there in the first place, developing the infrastructure, pumping the oil out of the ground, refining it, and doing all this shit for them, is because they suck at that. Because they didn't have the know-how. They weren't able to do it in the first place. So, yeah, if you get rid of all of that, you bring the oil companies back in, you start to give people jobs, you start to bring money back, they start to get a percentage of the oil profits that are coming out of there, it will begin to improve the country. They do need to diversify the economy. They don't want to get, you don't want a just strictly oil-based economy that's tethered to one resource and how much that's selling for in the global markets. But once you get something like that, you get some cash flow going, you start to improve the economy, you can start to think about those other things. Plus getting rid of a bunch of sanctions and crap that were on them because they were governed by an illegitimate regime. I don't know, did I even mention that Maduro was not even the president of the country? Did I mention that? Maduro wasn't actually the Venezuelan president. He had as much legitimate authority to be governing and ruling Venezuela as I do, or anyone in this chat does, or anyone we've watched here on TikTok does. He wasn't the actual president. He stole and rigged the election. He did not win all of the votes. Not all of those. He didn't win a majority of the votes. He didn't win the election at all. I think he won like 30%. So he lost like in a landslide. He was not recognized. He's not the recognized leader of Venezuela by the United States, by the Trump administration, by the Biden administration, by, I think, the whole EU, or is it just a lot of the EU countries, I know for sure. Many countries around the world. So yeah, it was basically like we just flew in there and arrested a random guy. Now he was in effect running the country, so it's a little more complicated than that. But you know, he had no legitimate authority to be governing Venezuela in the first place.
And that alignment is never neutral. So if you're waiting for improvement before asking questions, you're already late. And also, you're going to see a bunch of videos, a bunch of them, celebrations.
Does this mean Spooky's coming back? I doubt it. I doubt it. I think he's gone forever. But you never know. I haven't heard anything from him in a long time.
Relief, smiles, and that's the most dangerous misread of it all, because relief is not consent. Hear what I just said. Relief is not consent, right? Hope is not legitimacy.
Oh my God. There's 5 minutes of this. I don't know. Let's move on. Those are the strikes.
America only wants Venezuela's oil. What did you think Nicolás Maduro was doing with the oil? His people were starving while he was getting rich. What do you think China and Russia wanted with Venezuela? The recipe for arepas? The left is literally arguing that we should have left an entire country to be exploited by a real dictator that was killed.
I wonder if she's Venezuelan. Because whenever I first was looking up these videos on TikTok, I was like, oh, let me just type Venezuela into the search bar to find all the crazy people. I ended up typing, I think I ended up on this typing Venezuela invasion, and then I found them. But at first, when I typed in just Venezuela, it was just a whole bunch of Venezuelans, Venezuelan Americans, really from around the world, talking about how the people on the left are fucking idiots and need to shut the hell up because we've got every, they're talking about how shitty things were and how they're overjoyed and how they don't know crap about what's going on there when they say they're standing with the Venezuelans by trying to have protests in favor of Maduro and saying free Maduro and all of that. It's crazy. And it's not just the left. There's people on the right too. You've got some nut jobs like Tucker and I think Marjorie Taylor Greene and all the usual suspects over there. Tucker Carlson and all the whole gang complaining about they're basically the same things the people on the left are complaining about. They're saying, this is Iraq, all over again. We didn't vote for this. We don't want to invade. This is an America first, blah, 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 blah.
How do you capture a high-value...
Every Latin American country should be extremely concerned by what just happened in Venezuela. This is a war crime. I know there's a lot of people that are celebrating Venezuela Libre, but are maybe not seeing the big picture of what this could mean in the big scheme of things. The U.S. just violated Venezuela's sovereignty. Now,
we violated Venezuela's sovereignty by arresting Maduro. Huh. Well, like I just said, Maduro wasn't the president of Venezuela. Venezuela had an illegitimate thug running the country, and we went in and arrested him. I don't view that as a violation of their sovereignty. I mean, I wouldn't really care if it was. I don't really care that much about the sovereignty of other countries. But I don't view that as a violation of their sovereignty. That doesn't make much sense to me. Oh, his old videos? Yeah, I did notice that. He took those down a while back. First thing he needs to do is denounce that traitor sack of crap Casley when he comes back. Yeah, did he never denounce him? I don't know if he ever did. Yeah, Kevin's one of the worst. I wonder what Kevin has to say about all of this. I didn't even think about Kevin. I forgot all about Kevin, honestly. I need to go look him up and see what he's saying. Does he still do videos? Let's see. Is he still on Twitter? Is Kevin still around? Am I blocked by him? I keep getting blocked and unblocked by him. Let's see. Kevin. Can't find him. Let me see Superpower Broadcasting. I think this is him. No, that's not him. I don't know. I must still be blocked by him. What's his Twitter name? Anybody know his Twitter name? Sean, what did you say? Sean Penn was crying? Yeah, probably. All the mutual followers of Castley I used to have with him shrunk down to 3 people. I followed him I never stopped following him. I just kept getting blocked by him. He would block me because I would spam him on Twitter with stuff. And then he'd demand to debate me, and we'd debate, and then he'd block me again. And then he'd unblock me and demand to debate me, and then we debate, and then I make fun of him, and he blocks me. So I'm assuming I'm still blocked by him. Because I would mostly just, what I was spamming him with was just his old tweets. He would, say something on Twitter, and then I would just have a screen cap of, an old tweet he said contradicting himself that was, I don't know. At that time, it was probably, 6 months old or something. And I think he just got sick of it. Hey, what's up, man? Watching cringe on TikTok. We're seeing what the youth has to say, what Gen Z has to say about the recent actions in Venezuela, arresting Maduro. This woman informs me that it's we invaded Venezuela, which is a war crime, which I've been ranting on about how I don't really consider this an invasion and certainly not a war crime to arrest someone like Maduro, who was just a thug. He had no right to be running the country. He completely rigged and stole the election. The people didn't want him there. He was a massive piece of shit, aiding all of our enemies. So I'm not concerned about it. I'm tired of this lady. Let's see what the next one.
I have a message for the Cuban Americans living in Florida.
Hell yeah, Cuba's next. Oh God, there's a cool clip of Lindsey Graham talking about how we're going for Cuba next. I saw him. He was just going off about it. Cuba better watch out. Lindsey Graham just goes a little bit hard sometimes. He kind of overshoots the moon or whatever. Starts shooting from the hip, saying we're going to do things. I'm not sure that Cuba is next. Maybe it is. This is definitely going to suck for Cuba. I think they were getting a lot of their oil from Venezuela. Not so much anymore. Since it sounds too nationalistic for him, superpower broadcasting. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you did. Like I said, I haven't seen anything from Kevin in a while either. I think it's just one of those things. He's had the name for so long that it's kind of this is what it was. I don't want to change it. And it could, it could be. I guess you could argue that he's talking still about superpowers. He's talking about the United States and China and all of that. But yeah, I don't know.
Not one of those scroll by. First of all, if you guys haven't heard, Venezuela was just taken over by Trump because he invaded it. And
he was just taken over by Trump because he invaded it. I legitimately don't know if these people actually don't realize the reality of the situation. Do they actually think that we sent our full, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of troops in there and are controlling, directly controlling the country? I mean, I guess you could forgive them if all they heard was like Trump say, we're going to be running the country and we have this. But like I said, I don't think he means that we're going to be like directly running it like we did, in Iraq or Afghanistan. I don't think it means that at all. It certainly doesn't appear to be that. We haven't sent the requisite number of troops into the country to do that. Not even anywhere near anything like close enough. We could be working with somebody to, I guess, oust the regime and install the people we want. It doesn't seem like that's happening either. It seems like we're just pressuring the regime to try and get them to capitulate to our demands.
Mark my words, that shit wasn't done for the Venezuelan people and for their freedom and all that bullshit that they're telling you. Or for the...
Even if it wasn't done for their freedom, Venezuelan freedom and improvements in, their democracy and their quality of life and general, economic liberalization and those sorts of things, those could all happen as a byproduct of the U.S. pursuing its own interests in the country. They certainly could. Maybe it won't, but we'll see. Only time will tell.
Liberation of democracy and all that shit. Number one, that shit was done for oil. And number two, la segunda cosa que va a pasar is that they're going to come for Cuba. Because Venezuela was supporting Cuba by giving it oil at a very reduced price, and Cuba was shipping them doctors and professionals that were in Cuba. And so now with Venezuela being toppled, what you're going to see is the U.S. thinking that in Latin America and to shape geopolitical Latin American policy, they're going to take over Venezuela and then they're going to go after Cuba. And so to all the fucking Cubans that voted for Trump and all you fucking comepingas, ahora, todas las familias de ustedes, you're going to be the ones that are fucking affected by that. Your families.
Is this guy an idiot? Does he think that the Cubans, the American Cubans, the right-wing American Cubans, are scared of America overthrowing the regime in Cuba? Does he think that that's something they're worried about or concerned about? They would be elated. They'd be over the fucking moon if we overthrew the regime in Cuba. They would love it. They'd be going nuts. What kind of a threat is that? You guys better watch out because Cuba could be next, and all you Cuban Americans that voted for Trump, what? This is I don't even know what this would be like saying, all you evangelical Americans that voted for Trump, you better watch out because he's about to overturn Roe v. Wade. You better look out. You might not be too happy about that. What the fuck kind of a thing to say is that? What a dumbass. Oh my God. I mean, I would be all for us overthrowing the regime in Cuba too. Again, I don't even think we've really overthrown the regime in Venezuela. Trump has been pretty chaotic in foreign policy, but Venezuela has been pretty good. I hope he not mess it up. Rubio is the best pick Trump has made in his second term, but the rest of them are trash. Yeah, I think Rubio's definitely the best. I don't know that the rest are all trash. Mike Waltz, I think, is pretty good. I don't know about Pete Hegseth. I don't know. There's some stuff he does that I do like. I like the anti-woke stuff. I like some of the rhetoric he'll use. The kind of aggressive moves, and generally Hegseth supports the right things, usually. From what I can see, and even from the leaks we saw, he has the right opinions. It's just, I don't know that he has the actual experience and expertise to be doing what he's doing. He kind of strikes me as like, I don't know. It would be like if you just put any old random fuck who is sort of interested in this stuff. Like if you just put, I don't know, one of us, just one random YouTuber in charge up there. So I don't know. I don't know about that stuff. Rubio's definitely the best. I hope Rubio is the successor to Trump, but I don't think he will be, unfortunately. JD Vance is by far the worst. Worst of the whole bunch that I can think of off the top of my head anyway. No one else comes to mind. Well, there was Tulsi. And Tulsi's not even really... Well, Tulsi's... I mean, Tulsi is probably the worst, the actual worst one of all of them, worse than Vance. But Vance being VP, he's in a much more... Like, not that Tulsi's position is unimportant or whatever, but Vance worries me more, I think. And he's pretty fucking bad himself.
Will be the ones that are affected by that because you wanted a America first. Where is America first in this invasion? So fuck.
We're getting the oil and stuff, right? So, you know, some people told me it was going to be our colony. I get to go build a sugar plantation down there. That's pretty America first. I don't know if that stuff's actually happening.
So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
We've taken over another country. Our leader can't even pronounce the word judicious. And I have to say, before I say anything else, that I'm deeply embarrassed to be an American today. Why have we taken over Venezuela?
Like, we really haven't. I mean, I know that Trump said we've taken over. Really, I think he said we're going to take it over. And you're running the place. But again, this is something I've harped on like a million times. I don't know if these people really know what's going on there or not, and why they wouldn't be for us pressuring Venezuela to meet our demands. Particularly if some of our demands are that they democratize, that they have free and fair elections, that they liberalize, that they do all of those sorts of things. I don't know why any of these people would be against that, even if they're left-wingers. You think they would be in favor of those sorts of things, other than they do just kind of hate Trump. So I guess there is that.
For the oil. We want its oil. Let's talk about that. America right now produces more oil than any other nation in the world. That's a fact.
Vance can possibly be groomed? I don't know. I don't know. You think he could have his mind changed? He's already in the administration. And he seems to consistently be arguing against any sort of like forceful American action in the world. And from what I understand, all the leaks that come out are from Vance's team. So it's like him and then his people and his little camp. There's like a little collection of these bastards who are constantly arguing against. They're kind of doing the thing that that like all the kind of hawkish people in the first Trump administration were doing, where they were trying to undermine the administration and try and like sort of push their own agenda around and try and push Trump towards more forceful action in the world. They're doing like the opposite of that. They're trying to push their own sort of isolationist agenda.
Produce more oil than any nation in all of human history. But it's not enough because Trump's energy policy is to continue to exploit oil, which means we need more. That's where Venezuela comes in. The prospect of America producing more oil is iffy. We know where our reserves are. They're expensive to exploit. Who has the largest known reserves of oil by far? Venezuela. Venezuela's oil prospects are a little bit problematic. It's heavy crude. It's going to cost a lot of money to make it viable for actual use, but they have it. We want it. People on the right brazenly lie when they say, oh, no. We've gone into Venezuela because they have a bad dictator. What does Trump want to be? A dictator.
Oh my God. I've already explained the thing about the oil. It's not stealing. They basically stole the oil infrastructure from us. So going there to try and basically get back what's ours will at the same time help the country too. At least it should. It should be bringing more money. It'll certainly be bringing more money into the country because right now their oil production has fallen off a cliff. If they have the biggest oil reserves in the world, why aren't they producing shit? Why aren't they producing shit? It's because all the infrastructure there has gone to shit. They need us to come back in there and take over and take back the oil industry and have American companies come in there and reinvest in the place. And that'll accrue to their benefit.
Some countries have bad dictators. Venezuela's got oil. And even Trump is not trying to deflect from this. He said today, with us in charge, we're going to pump a lot more oil. The reality is that we're not going to produce more oil because we're inducing violence and chaos in Venezuela as a result of this invasion.
What violence and chaos? We're already gone. We went in there and smashed them up and left.
And the most likely replacement leader, the most popular leader in Venezuela, Machado. Trump has undercut her, saying that she doesn't have widespread respect.
Oh my God. So this guy is in favor of us actually doing the regime change instead of like working with somebody who's already in the regime to try and change the regime that way, where we essentially leave them still in charge but demand that they hold a free election and meet a bunch of our other demands and all of this stuff. Instead of doing that, does he want us to just like install Machado or like, I don't know, back up some other leader or something to like, if he started supporting her, Machado, and like, I like, you want us to just start a civil war in Venezuela? Because you were just a second ago, you're bitching about how we're fostering violence and instability and all of this stuff. If we were to start supporting the opposition there, which, there could be arguments for doing that, sure, that would cause a civil war. There would be a civil war. Like, that's, if you don't like, violence or instability, that's the far more violent way to do this, is to say, yeah, we're going to back the opposition now, and we're going to go fight it out and force the current regime out of power and try and violently install the opposition. We could do that. Or, which, again, there might be arguments for doing that, because you could argue, well, we'll never be able to actually work with this regime. They will never hold free elections. They will never do this because they know that they're all going to be in prison if that happens. So, which I think we could work with them. We could do like set up deals to where we're like, all right, we'll take you guys, all the people that are worried about going to prison and being held account, being held to justice. If you guys hold a free election and sort of transition to power, we'll ship you off to, the kind of rat shit dictatorship scumbag country of your choice that you get to live in for the rest of your life, like Russia or Iran or Cuba, wherever. We could set up a deal like that and then try and get them to do their free elections. But you could argue that that's never going to work, and we should just support the opposition. But that will probably, almost certainly, cause a civil war, which seemed like what this guy was just worried about a second ago, but he's criticizing Trump for not supporting Machado. So I don't know. collapse of the hot community, spooky disappearing of Kevin Tommy have fallen into the Dabbleverse community. Well, what is that? I don't know anything about that. Dabbleverse. Oh God, I've been on for over an hour now. I'm gonna go ahead and call it quits. I think I've had.
Tenemos que hacernos varias preguntas. ¿Cuánto?
I'm not gonna do any of that.
James Carville.
Do whatever Trump wants, whatever they think is in the best interest of the Republican Party, what is the best interest of
James Carville's on TikTok. He's pretty funny.
Corporate power. And then I'm gonna have the head legal correspondent for CBS says I ought to respect what they did. You can't say they're corrupt. Oh, I can't. You ever heard of Harlan Crow?
Even though I can barely understand his accent, he's sometimes pretty funny.
You ever heard of a G5 going to Alaska on a fishing trip that Sam Alito just showed up at Dulles Airport and said, well, there's an empty seat on it. Shit, I just took it. You ever heard of the sale of Neat Garcia's house? You ever look up what John Robinson's wife did for a living?
Yeah, I don't. Can't understand a word that he just said there. So even if I like how he's got the subtitles, but still going a little too quick for me, man. Sorry.
As you know, the U.S. invaded Venezuela last week and took out their president. We immigration lawyers are looking to see how this is going to impact our clients and their cases.
Immigration lawyer.
The USA has kidnapped. The real reason the United States bombed Venezuela
Antifa here.
is because of the petrodollar. To understand Venezuela, you need to understand the petrodollar. In 1974, the U.S. made a deal with Saudi Arabia that all global oil would be priced in dollars, and in return, America provided military protection.
Yeah, I'm not getting into this. I'm not getting into that. I've had enough of this. You have to understand the petrodollar. No, thank you. I will move on in blissful ignorance of the petrodollar. So I'm going to go ahead and call it quits here. Been on for longer than I intended even. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to start doing more streams or anything. Maybe if something happens, something interesting happens, maybe. You never know. I wasn't even really planning to do this. I just kind of felt like it. I was like, this is we're having a good year. It's been a good new year so far. One piece of shit dictator taken out, being put on trial. And Iran falling to pieces. It's always nice. Good start to the year. We'll see how it goes. See if we can keep this pace up. Would be nice, but so far so good. So have a great night. That's all I got.